You don't need to chase her. You don't need to beg for her attention. You don't need to play mind games, disappear, or try to make her jealous. All you have to do is change one thing: your response. Not with words, not with emotional reactions, but with your energy. Right now, she expects you to act a certain way. She assumes that if she pulls back, you'll react by chasing her, that if she ignores you, you'll try harder, that if she shows interest in someone else, you'll panic. That's the pattern she's seen before. Because she believes she understands how you'll respond, she feels in control. But the moment you stop giving her the reaction she expects, everything shifts. At first, she doesn't notice it. She assumes you'll cave soon enough, that eventually you'll break the silence, that if she waits long enough, you'll be the one to come back. But you don't. You're not angry. You're not bitter. You're not begging for another chance. You're just different. And that's what starts to get under her skin. She assumed she had time, that she could push you away, and you'd still be waiting in the background. But the moment she senses that you're no longer emotionally attached to her decisions, she starts feeling something she didn't expect: uncertainty. Because now she doesn't know what's going on in your head, and that's when she starts thinking about you more than ever. She tells herself to let it go, to stop thinking about you, to focus on other things, to stay busy, to remind herself that she was the one who stepped back. But the silence is relentless. Every time she tries to push it out of her mind, it comes back stronger. It shows up in the quiet moments when there's nothing left to distract her. It creeps in when she least expects it, when she's out with friends, when she's laughing at something, when she's scrolling through her phone absent-mindedly. Every single time, her mind goes back to the same question: what if I lost him for good? At first, that thought was just a passing curiosity, something she barely noticed, but now it's an obsession. Because the more time that passes, the more she realizes she has no proof that you're still thinking about her. She assumed that even if you weren't reaching out, you were still checking up on her in some way, that you were still watching her stories, liking her posts, finding little ways to stay connected without directly saying it. But now she's realizing you're not doing that at all, and that's what's making the panic set in. Now, she feels disconnected from you in a way she never expected. She felt like she had access to you at any time. Even when she wasn't talking to you, she still felt secure in the fact that you were thinking about her. But now that security is gone, and nothing feels more unsettling than realizing she might not exist in your world anymore. She tries to suppress it, to move past it, to convince herself she doesn't care, but the thought keeps returning. Because if you're not waiting, if you're not reacting, if you're not still emotionally tied to her in some way, then what does that mean? It means she's losing something she never thought she'd lose. And the worst part is, she has no idea how to stop it. When the fear becomes unbearable, she can't sit with it anymore. That nagging feeling, the one she kept trying to ignore, the one she thought would eventually fade, is only getting worse. And now it's turning into something deeper. It's no longer just about curiosity. It's no longer about wondering if you still think about her. Now it's fear, a fear she wasn't prepared for, because the more she sits with it, the more real it becomes. What if she actually lost you? At first, she tries to justify it to herself. He's just playing hard to get. He's trying to make me miss him. I still have time. He's not going anywhere. But none of those excuses feel right anymore. She's waited long enough. She thought you'd eventually break, but you haven't. And the more she realizes that you're truly unbothered, the more anxious she becomes. Because now she sees what's really happening. You're slipping away, and it's happening without her permission. She checks her phone, hoping for something, a message, a notification, a sign that she still has space in your world. But every time she checks, there's nothing, and that nothing is getting louder. Before, she could still convince herself that you were thinking about her, that even if you weren't reaching out, you were still affected. But now she doesn't know anymore, and that's what's making her panic. Because for the first time, she isn't in control of this anymore. She always believed she had the power to dictate how and when things would unfold, that even if she walked away, she could return whenever she wanted. But now she's feeling something she's never felt before when it comes to you: uncertainty. That uncertainty is driving her crazy. She now faces two choices. She can ignore it, keep pretending she doesn't care, and let the distance grow, risking losing you completely. Or she can do something about it. And that's when she makes her first real move, not out of confidence, not because she planned it, but because she can't handle the thought of losing you for good. When she feels forced to act, she can't keep sitting with this overwhelming feeling anymore. The longer she waits, the stronger the fear becomes. She thought she could control it, suppress it, or distract herself, but none of it is working. Every time she tries to focus on something else, her mind keeps circling back to one thing: you. And now she's at a breaking point. She told herself she wouldn't be the one to reach out. She swore she wouldn't give in, wouldn't show weakness, wouldn't make it obvious that she's the one struggling. But at this moment, her pride is losing the battle against her emotions. That's why she has to do something. But here's the problem: she can't just reach out like nothing happened. She can't suddenly text you without making it obvious that she's been overthinking. She can't just say, "Hey, I miss you," without feeling like she's handing over all the power. So she has to be subtle. She has to find a way to reconnect without exposing her real emotions. Her first attempt is a small, calculated move, a like on an old post. Something random enough to not be obvious, but intentional enough to make you notice. A coincidental story update, something vague enough to make you wonder if it's about you. A completely unnecessary check-in message pretending to ask about something irrelevant just to see if you'll engage. She's not trying to have a conversation. She's trying to see if you're still available. Because if you respond instantly, if you act excited, if you fall right back into the way things were, she wins. She gets the reassurance she needs. She regains the sense of control. She can tell herself, "I still have him." But if you don't, if you keep your response short, if you don't match her energy, if you don't take the bait the way she hoped you would, that's when she starts to spiral, because now she's realizing that a simple breadcrumb isn't enough to pull you back in. And if you're not reacting to her first move, then she has to go even further. Not because she wants to, but because now she feels like she has no other choice. When she starts chasing without realizing it, her first attempt didn't work the way she expected. She thought that a subtle move, a like, a casual message, a vague post meant to trigger a reaction, would be enough to make you break the silence. But you didn't. You saw it, you acknowledged it, but you didn't jump at the chance to engage the way she thought you would. And that's when the real panic sets in, because now she's forced to admit something she was trying to avoid. She misjudged the situation. She thought you were waiting. She thought you'd grab onto any small sign that she was opening the door. She thought that all it would take was a little push and you'd pull her right back in. But now she's starting to feel like she's the one being ignored, and that's a feeling she can't handle. Now she's looking at the situation through a different lens. She's no longer seeing herself as the one with the upper hand. She's realizing she's the one who needs to put in effort, but she can't be obvious about it. Not yet. She doesn't want to make it seem like she's chasing you. She doesn't want to admit that she's losing control. She doesn't want to show weakness. So she tries again. This time, it's a little bolder. She starts watching your stories more frequently, hoping you'll notice. She sends another message, one that actually requires a response. She suddenly brings up an inside joke or a memory, trying to trigger emotions in you. She's doing everything she can to create a reaction, but what she's not realizing is that every little attempt to pull you back in is her chasing. She thinks she's just checking in. She thinks she's just testing you. She thinks she's still in control. But now she's the one seeking validation. Because deep down, she knows that if she wasn't losing you, she wouldn't be trying this hard to get you back. The fear of being replaced takes over. She tried to be subtle. She tested the waters, threw out small signals, and expected you to take the bait. But when none of it worked the way she imagined, the fear inside her shifted into something much worse. Now she's not just wondering if you're ignoring her. Now she's wondering if someone else has your attention, and that thought is unbearable. Before, she never truly considered what it would feel like to lose you to someone else. It was always in the back of her mind, that feeling of uncertainty. She always thought she had some kind of control, that you were hers in some way, even if she wasn't actively pursuing you. But now she has no idea where you stand. She thought she was the one creating the distance. But the more she analyzes the situation, the more she realizes you've stopped trying completely. That's when her mind starts spiraling. Is he talking to someone new? Has he already moved on? Did I wait too long to make a move? She never considered competing for your attention before. She always felt secure in the idea that you'd always be there, even if she wasn't fully present. But now, for the first time, she feels like she might have to fight for you, and that's a feeling she was never prepared for. Now she's checking more than just her messages. She's seeing if you've been online, but haven't messaged her. She's scrolling through your social media, looking for clues, scanning your comments, your likes, anything that tells her if someone else has entered the picture. Every second she spends searching for answers makes her feel more and more like she's losing you. She wanted to test your patience, but you tested something much deeper, her sense of security. The more she realizes that you're not reacting, not waiting, not seeking her validation anymore, the more desperate she becomes. Because now she's not just trying to see if she still has power over you. Now she's trying to reclaim something she didn't even appreciate when she had it, the urgency to pull you back in. She never thought she'd feel this way, rushed, uncertain, and completely out of control. She was the one who created the distance. She was the one who held back. She was the one who thought she had all the time in the world to figure things out. But now she's starting to feel like she's running out of time. Every second that passes without a response from you, without a sign that you're still emotionally invested, makes her feel like she's slipping further from your world, and that's terrifying. She thought she had the upper hand, that you'd always be available, that no matter how long she pulled away, she'd be able to walk back into your life whenever she wanted. But now that certainty is gone. It's being replaced by something much worse, the fear that she's losing you for good. Now she feels the pressure. She doesn't have the luxury of waiting anymore. She can't just sit back and hope you'll reach out, because what if you don't? What if you're actually done? What if she miscalculated everything and pushed you away too far? That's why she has to act now. But she can't just come running back and admit she made a mistake. That would be too obvious. It would expose her vulnerability. So instead, she starts looking for ways to reconnect without making it seem like she's chasing. She suddenly watches all your stories again, hoping you'll notice. She messages you with a random excuse, pretending it has nothing to do with you. She starts bringing up things from the past, trying to remind you of the connection you once had. But the truth is, she's not reaching out because she just wants to talk. She's reaching out because she needs reassurance. She needs to know if she still has access to you, because if she doesn't, then she has to face a truth she's been avoiding all this time. She lost a man who actually had the power to walk away. The realization that hits her hardest is that she thought a simple message, a subtle move, a small attempt to reconnect would be enough to pull you back in. But now she's starting to realize something much worse. Nothing she's doing is working. You're not reacting, you're not chasing, you're not making it easy for her to feel in control again. And that's the moment it all crashes down on her. Because now she understands you're not just playing hard to get, you've actually changed. She spent so much time assuming she could dictate the timing, that she could return whenever she wanted, that she could always slip back into your life like nothing happened. But now she doesn't know if she still has that option. The worst part, you're not bitter, you're not angry, you're not trying to prove anything, you're just moving on. And that's what truly breaks her. Because she never considered what it would feel like if you stopped seeing her as someone irreplaceable. She assumed you'd always feel the same, that some part of you would always be waiting for her return. But now she's the one who feels like she's been left behind, and that's a feeling she can't escape. She wanted to test you, but you tested something far more powerful, her own ability to let go. And now she realizes she's the one who can't. But the truth is, it's no longer your problem, because now you get to choose if she even deserves another chance. If this opened your eyes, watch the next video on your screen. The moment you realize this, everything changes.